December 1900, off the stormy coast of Scotland, a ship approaches the Flannan Isles. Its crew scans the towering cliffs for the lighthouse's guiding beam, but the lantern is dark. Repeated signals go unanswered. Days later, a search party arrives to investigate. Inside the lighthouse, oil lamps are filled and ready to burn. A half-eaten meal sits on the table, and a chair is toppled over as if someone left in haste. But the three keepers are gone. No bodies, no signs of violence, just an unsettling calm. Over a century later, their disappearance remains unsolved. Could a rogue wave have swept them into the sea? Or did something more sinister happen that night? Let's dive into the chilling mystery of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse. The Flannan Isles are a small cluster of rocky islands off the western coast of Scotland. Known for their harsh weather and rugged cliffs, these isles have long been steeped in legends, tales of spirits, mythical beings, and curses whispered among sailors. But beyond the folklore stands the Flannan Isles Lighthouse, built in 1899 to guide ships safely through treacherous waters. The lighthouse was manned by a team of 4 keepers who worked in rotation. At any given time, 3 men would remain on the island while the 4th would take leave on the mainland. In December 1900, the keepers stationed there were James Duckett, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur, while the 4th, Joseph Moore, was temporarily on leave. None of them could have known that their watch would become one of the greatest unsolved disappearances of all time. The first sign that something was wrong came on December 15, 1900. A passing ship, the SS Arctur, sailing near the Flannan Isles, noticed something strange. The lighthouse's beam, which was supposed to guide ships through the rough waters, was completely dark. Concerned, the crew tried signaling the lighthouse, but there was no response. Days passed without any word from the keepers. On December 26th, the supply ship Hesperus arrived at the island. Normally, one of the keepers would be waiting at the landing to help with the supplies. But as the ship approached, no one appeared. The lighthouse stood still and silent against the crashing waves and strong winds. Captain Harvey of the Hesperus sounded the ship's horn and fired a flare into the sky. Still, no response. Feeling uneasy, Joseph Moore, the 4th lighthouse keeper who had stayed on the mainland during the last shift, volunteered to go ashore and investigate. Moore climbed into a small boat and rowed through the rough waters toward the rocky shore. As he stepped onto the narrow stone path leading up to the lighthouse, an unsettling feeling came over him. With each step, the air seemed heavier, as if something was wrong. Finally, Moore reached the lighthouse door. He knocked, but there was no answer. Gripping the brass handle, he pushed the door open. Inside, everything looked normal, almost as if the men had just left. The dining table still had plates with leftover food, the beds were neatly made, and the clock on the wall was still ticking. The lamps had been cleaned and prepared for lighting, showing that the keepers had done their daily tasks. But there was no sign of Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, or Donald MacArthur. Their heavy weather gear, called oilskins, was missing, suggesting that they had gone outside. But why would all 3 men leave the lighthouse during such dangerous weather? Moore searched every room, calling their names, but the only answer was silence. Outside, the sea crashed against the cliffs, offering no clues, only questions that would remain unsolved for years to come. Moore's investigation of the surrounding area revealed more strange clues. At the west landing, the spot where boats dock, the iron railings were twisted and bent, as if hit by a powerful force. The wooden storage box used to hold ropes was smashed open, with splinters scattered across the rocks. Even more unsettling, one of the lifebuoys, which should have been secured to the railing, was missing without a trace. Given the harsh weather common in the area, many believed that a massive wave had swept the keepers into the sea. The island's steep cliffs and unpredictable waves were well-known dangers, capable of rising dozens of feet without warning. But this theory raised more questions than answers. Why would all 3 men leave the safety of the lighthouse during a storm? Regulations required at least 1 keeper to stay inside at all times, ensuring that the light stayed lit. Yet none of the men were found inside, and their heavy weather gear was gone, suggesting they had gone outside willingly. Adding to the mystery was the complete lack of any signs of struggle or panic. There were no footprints leading toward the sea, no torn clothing, and no signs that the men had tried to escape. Everything inside the lighthouse had been left in perfect order, as if the men had simply stepped out for a moment. But outside, the twisted railings and broken crate hinted at something violent. It was as if the men had vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but questions that no one could answer. The lighthouse logbook offered a glimpse into the keeper's final days and raised even more questions. Thomas Marshall had written about severe storms battering the island, with winds so fierce that they shook the tower. Waves crashed against the cliffs with such force that the noise echoed through the walls. Yet, the entries hinted at something more than just bad weather. Marshall noted that James Duckett, the head keeper with years of experience, had grown unusually quiet and withdrawn. Even more unsettling, Donald MacArthur, known for his strength and tough nature, had been seen weeping. Such emotional responses were highly unusual for seasoned lighthouse keepers, trained to stay calm under pressure. Their growing fear seemed to build with each passing day, as if they sensed something beyond the storm. The final entry, dated December 14th, was both brief and puzzling. Storm ended, sea calm. On the surface, it seemed to signal that the worst had passed. But nearby ships reported that rough weather had continued, contradicting what the logbook claimed. This strange detail has puzzled investigators for decades. If the storm had truly ended, why would all three men leave the safety of the lighthouse? And if the weather was still dangerous, what could have forced them outside? The logbook's final words hinted at a sense of relief, or perhaps resignation. But what had the keepers witnessed that left them so shaken? And why did their story end with a calm sea that no one else had seen? Over the years, countless theories have been proposed to explain the disappearance of the three lighthouse keepers. The most widely accepted theory is that a freak wave, possibly triggered by a seismic event or sudden surge, swept the men off the west landing as they tried to secure equipment during the storm. The twisted railings and smashed storage box seem to support this idea, but skeptics argue this doesn't explain why all three men would have left the lighthouse at once, breaking the strict rule that one keeper must stay inside at all times. Could something more urgent have forced them outside together? Another theory is that the men were the victims of foul play. Some have speculated that a passing ship's crew, smugglers, or even a lone intruder could have attacked the keepers. Yet, there were no signs of violence or struggle inside the lighthouse. Everything had been left in perfect order, as if the men had stepped outside willingly. With no evidence of a fight, this theory remains more fiction than fact. Others believe the harsh conditions and isolation of the Flannan Isles may have driven the men to madness. Being trapped on a remote, storm-lashed island for weeks could take a toll on anyone's mind. Perhaps tensions among the keepers boiled over, leading to a tragic accident or a moment of panic that cost all three their lives. Some point to MacArthur's uncharacteristic weeping as a sign that the pressure had become too much. And then there are the supernatural theories, the ones that keep the legend of the Flannan Isles alive. Locals have long believed that the islands are home to ancient spirits, guardians of the land who don't take kindly to intruders. According to legend, these spirits can summon fierce storms or lead travelers astray, never to be seen again. Some say the keepers might have angered these spirits, who dragged them into the sea as punishment for disturbing their domain. Others whisper of strange lights that appear on the cliffs at night, glowing orbs that hover above the water before vanishing without a trace. Some believe these lights are will-o'-the-wisps, ghostly apparitions said to lure people to their doom. There have also been reports of distant voices carried by the wind, soft, mournful sounds that echo across the rocks, as if calling out to anyone who dares to listen. Could the keepers have heard these voices and stepped outside to investigate, only to be pulled into the unknown? Some locals think so, claiming that the island's ancient forces are still at work, ensuring that those who come too close never leave. Even today, the Flannan Isles remain uninhabited, and many who visit say they feel an unexplainable sense of unease, as if unseen eyes are watching from the shadows. Whether myth or reality, these eerie tales add another layer of mystery to a case that may never be solved. What do you think? Could this be a case of natural forces colliding with human error? Or is there more to this mystery than meets the eye? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't like this video, and definitely don't subscribe. You wouldn't want weekly doses of mind-blowing mysteries, creepy legends, and unexplained events, would you? Yeah, I didn't think so. And whatever you do, don't click on the video above, unless you want to uncover the secrets they don't want you to know.